All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast where we're covering the Big Ten transfer portal news. We've got the Michigan Wolverines today. We're diving into. They made a few moves over the offseason. We'll start with Marcus here. Marcus, we want to hear your thoughts. Who was the best move? What was the best move these guys made in the offseason?
Well, the best moves probably. I'll let Cody talk about his guy Adaimara. But the best move probably of maybe the whole portal season is Jaxa Lindeborg coming from UAB to Michigan and then kind of winning again when he decided to withdraw from the NBA draft. So they got him twice, really, in my eyes. That NIL fund must be hitting pretty good in Lindeborg's pocket. But basketball side of things, averaged 18 and 11 last year on 52 36% splits. He didn't take a ton of threes, 73s, but this is going to be their guy. I'm really excited to see how he transitions to the Big Ten. But if we've learned anything about Dusty May and how he gets his guys to play, I mean, you saw what he did with Danny Wolf coming from Yale. Now Danny Wolf obviously left for the draft. Vlad Golden was fantastic in his move from FAU to follow Dusty May. So I think Lindeborg's going to be awesome. Really, I think Michigan was really great in this portal season. All things considered, they got probably the best player and then three other really solid pieces to go alongside him to replace what they lost. So, I think you could say Michigan had one of the better portal seasons in the country.
Cody, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. They probably, from a pure talent perspective, I think they had one of the better portal seasons. It was a bit weird that all three of these guys ended up staying. Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of money, obviously, to play here, and I would have loved to see Adaimara end up somewhere else so he could play more minutes, have a higher usage. He's probably going to come off the bench with this team. It's probably going to be Lindeborg, Johnson in the front court. Wouldn't be surprised if Mara fit in the starting lineup just because Lindeborg is so versatile. He did everything for that UAB offense last year, and his game is absolutely going to translate to the Big Ten. I mean, he was basically playing point forward for UAB last year at a 23% assist rate. He gets all over the offensive glass at a 12% offensive rebound rate, and he's, not hyper efficient, but I mean, he had a super high usage, so it's kind of hard to be extremely efficient in the role that he was in, but he can even shoot it a little bit. Maybe there's a little more shooting upside there. Went 25 of 69 from three last year. And the 4-5 pick and roll is going to be back and I think it's going to be back and potentially even better than the Danny Wolf Vlad Golden pick and roll. I think Lindeborg is not a far better talent than Wolf, but he's definitely a better talent. I think he probably should have gone to the draft. I think he could have easily been a top 20 pick because, I mean, Danny Wolf's getting buzzed to be a top 20 pick as well. And like I said, I'm definitely higher on Lindeborg's talent. So, but yeah, I think they did a fantastic job, especially at least with the front court. I would have liked for them to add another guard that can provide some spacing, but overall, just acquiring talent, I think they did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, how about these other guys, Johnson Jr. and Cadeau? How did they fit the system? Do we think those two are just as good pickups as role guys, more of role guys than, of course, the big Lance, Lindeborg, and Mara? Marcus, what do you think?
I think, with Cadeau, there's a lot of sort of unknown. I think maybe he really just needed a change of scenery. A lot of pressure, obviously, at North Carolina. He didn't play great last year. Averaged 9 and 6 assists. Wasn't super efficient. Has really struggled to shoot the ball over the course of his career, especially from three. So we'll see. I know, like Cody just said, it would have been nice if they got another guard that could shoot the ball a little bit, because that is going to be, I think, a little bit of a question mark. And then as for Morris Johnson, he just plays incredibly hard, right? I mean, just to look at his numbers, 7 points, 7 rebounds, and a little over a block a game, and he was only playing about 18 minutes a game. Dude just plays off the walls hard. And I think that's going to be massive for this team. I mean, he's going to, whether he comes off the bench or starts, like he's just going to play super hard, provide a ton of energy for this team, get all over the offensive glass, set screens. He's going to just be their X factor, I think, in some ways, just because of his ability to rebound the ball and do kind of the dirty work. So I like the move. I think Morris Johnson's a guy that any team would gladly take on their team.
Cody, what do you think of these other guys, Cadeau and Johnson?
I like Cadeau as an individual talent. I'm not really sure how well he fits here because I think Cadeau's a guy that kind of needs spacing around him to have success, and he hasn't really had that. Didn't really have it last year at Carolina. I mean, had some shooting there, but didn't really have a ton of shooting talent outside of Davis and a little bit of Drake Powell, who shot at like 38% last year. So he was solid, but it was just kind of a weird fit at Carolina. And I do think it's somewhat of a weird fit with guys like, I mean, Burnett's a solid spot up shooter. He's not like really all that versatile as a perimeter talent outside of, being a corner or wing shooter off the catch, not a fantastic movement shooter. So it is and a lot of the offense is going to run through Yaxel Lendeborg. So Cadeau playing off the ball is typically not great for him. I do think he's more of a pick and roll operator in the half court, and it's going to be tough for him to provide secondary value. He is great in transition, and this is a team that's going to put a ton of rim pressure on you. They're probably going to be a top 5 rim offense in the entire country, just like they were last year. So I do think this is going to be a very similar style of play this year with Dusty May, and I think they're arguably better on both ends of the floor, but there are just some concerns with the overall fit. And with Johnson and Mara, like they're probably going to split minutes. They're definitely different play styles. Like I think Mara provides more skill. He can be a little bit of a post hub when a guy like Lendeborg goes to the bench. I think he's a fantastic passer. I mean, he's a little high risk, high reward at times, but I think the talent is absolutely there. And like I would have liked for them to have more shooting for him to really optimize his passing ability. But I am pretty high on Mara overall. And yet Marcus hit the nail on the head with Johnson. I mean, just super high energy player. I mean, 17% offensive rebound rate is pretty ridiculous. He's going to play like 20 minutes per game and be able to provide all of that energy for all 20 minutes again. So yeah, this is going to be a tough team to handle, especially on the interior.
What can we expect from these guys for this upcoming season? What's the ceiling? What's the floor? Marcus, we'll go with you.
I mean, I think they're a top 4 team in the Big Ten again. I think with Lendeborg, he immediately like raises your floor. So I don't really see a world where like this team misses the tournament. I would say their, floors. I don't know. It's really hard to say. I'm really curious to see how they all fit together. I guess like I don't see them as like a top 2 seed. Maybe their ceiling's like a 3 seed, maybe floor somewhere in that like 7 or 8 range, I guess. But obviously it's June. It's very early. But I'm pretty high on the ceiling of the Wolverines.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cody, what do you think?
I guess I'd be a little bit more on the flip side. I think they have a lot higher floor than their ceiling, just because of the rim dominance on both ends of the floor. Like they're going to be a top 20 rebound rate team on both ends. It's just like the shooting kind of limits their championship upside at this point. Maybe they can address some of that with a few of the freshmen coming in, like a Trey McKinney. Haven't really dove into what he's going to bring to the table just yet, but he might be a guy that could potentially steal some minutes from Gale or Burnett. And then they still like have some shooting, like Will Cheddar's coming back, and then they're bringing in a freshman, Winters Grady, as well. LJ Kaysen coming back for year 2. He doesn't provide a ton of shooting for this Michigan team, but overall, I do think the floor is higher just because of the rim dominance on both ends of the floor. And yeah, I'd say 5 or 6 seed is probably their floor at this point in time, but their ceiling is a bit capped. I would say they're maybe Sweet 16, Elite 8 at this point in time. But I mean, Torvik has this team as the 4th best team in the country, and they have 4th on the offensive end, 8th on the defensive end. Not really sure if they're that high. I would pretty confidently say they're top 10 or 15, but I'm not sure I completely buy the championship upside just yet.
Yeah, they're one step away, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, they have a real shooting deficiency, and you can only, score at the rim so often without teams making like major adjustments, being able to pack the paint. Some guys are going to have to make defenses pay, and I'm not sure this roster really has that right now.
All right. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I think like they'll be highly successful in conference play. I think the shooting can become more evident, or the lack of shooting can become more evident when you get into those tournament games where it's a 1-game playoff. You're surviving advance. Teams are going to be able to scheme up. So hopefully, for Michigan's sake, like guys get better over the summer. Guys, are working on their shot and able to provide more spacing for them. That's all I've got. I'm excited for them though. I think they're going to be a tough out in the Big Ten.
Cody, any final thoughts?
Yeah, ultimately, I'm really high on the individual pieces. I'm just a little bit worried about the fit overall. I think that kind of caps their ceiling. But I mean, obviously, there's a ton of talent on this roster. Like I said, I'm high on Cadeau, extremely high on Lindenborg. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the country from night number one, and high on the other two pieces that they brought in as well.
Yeah, definitely an exciting upcoming season for the Wolverines. We'll wrap things up here. All right, everybody. As always, thank you for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast.